Guys, Happy New Year! I'm back and better than ever. And when I say I'm back, what I mean is that this is the first video that I'm recording live in 2026. The other videos I dropped were pre-recorded before I went on break. But back like we never left. And you know what else came back from break last week? Even though it's on break again this week? Why, it's none other than our good old One Piece. And you know, it's a new year. We're sure to get so many new amazing chapters, especially as Elbaf closes out. But today, I want to take a look at last year. And we're going to be answering the question, what is the best One Piece chapter of 2025? So if you're ready for a retrospective ranking, damn, okay alliteration, please do some for me, y'all. Like the video, okay, y'all? That is incredibly important. But even more important is subscribing to the channel, y'all. I'm trying to do a lot of new things this year, but I need y'all help to do it. And share it around with all your friends who love One Piece, anime, or maybe just me. I'm told I'm a pretty lovable guy. Also, subscribe to me and my boys over at CSY. Tomorrow, we have a crazy video dropping. But getting into the topic, you might think that this shouldn't be too hard, but y'all, might I remind you, a lot happened in the One Piece manga last year. The majority of the first part of Elbaf occurred, including meeting Loki and establishing the land. The God's Knights and eventually Emu himself, herself, theirself, showed up for some crazy shenanigans. And on top of that, we just got out of what may go down as the most hyped flashback in all of One Piece history, Kuma's flashback included, starring none other than the legendary Rox D. Zebek himself. So yeah, choosing chapters was a bit tough, but I think I got a list that I can live with. Oh, and just a note before we get into it, I'll be using the TCB translations when referencing chapters because I prefer their translation style, but I do still encourage people to read both the scans and the official. Now starting us off, we do have 3 honorable mentions. The first is chapter 1168, Elbaf's Snow. And if you can't necessarily remember what it is, you might remember it as the chapter where Shanks goes missing from the God's Knights that he was apparently a part of, or the chapter where Harold, the sellout, finally realizes that he's being played by Emu, but by that point it's too late. But to me, of course, the huge capstone of this was that this was Ida's death. And it was really tragic because you see how much she affected everybody's lives on that island. Loki was sad, Haruden was sad, Harold was sad, Mato was sad, everybody was sad. And these guys at the alcohol village who poisoned her, retribution. The second honorable mention I got is 1154, I Can't Even Die. This is of course the chapter where we're seeing Loki growing up, everybody hating on him, thinking that he's a devil, etc. Such to the point that he even tried to jump off of a cliff, but realized that he's just too strong, he can't even die. But of course the big highlight of this chapter is that this is the very first time that we see Rox D. Zebek in the flesh. Not only is he revealed here, but on top of that we get the info that he is in fact Blackbeard's father. And I'm not gonna lie, this has to be highlighted just as the impetus for what will become the greatest character in the series. Finally, we got chapter 1157, the legendary bar. Now this is the chapter that started off with us seeing the Rox Pirates raids, and that was actually really interesting to see. It makes you realize we actually don't see pirates doing piratey things that often in this pirate comic. But of course, this is the chapter where Shaki leaves the Kuja pirates to set up shop on Hachinosu and creating Shaki's ripoff bar, a place where everybody can come together to collectively goon over her, apparently, is what happened there. It also spawned the theory that Shaki was Blackbeard's mom for like maybe 2 weeks before it got debunked. And nah, yeah, y'all, the will of goon is kind of crazy in this one. With the honorable mentions out the way, let's get started with the top 10. And at number 10, I got chapter 1156, Idols. This is where we started getting the Frogger memes because we saw that it's really just the Gooner pirates. Anytime that Amazon Lily was passing by, the entirety of the Roger pirates, except for Rayleigh, became basically useless. But it also really establishes, yo, the Kuja are really just like that. I mean, obviously Shaki is literally stopping world economies, but then even then, Gloriosa is also just as equally as fine. Okay, I'm sorry Shaki, that's actually not true. You're always top 1. But Gloriosa's still there. This is also when we got the reveal of Silver Axe's face. His design is tough, and also, does anybody else not think that this man looks like Don Krieg? And it ends off with this aura-filled shot of the Rox Pirates, and y'all, I'm gonna say it, they have the most aura of any pirate crew to ever exist. They're the toughest. Now number 9, I got chapter 1159, the Island of Destiny. This is where we're seeing the God Valley setup, where all of the different players were first hearing the inklings of why they need to go to God Valley. Of course, with Wang Ji betraying them, Don Marlin getting killed, and Shaki getting kidnapped, the Rocks pirates are on go. Roger hears that, and now he's on go, and that prompts Garp to be on go. This is also when we see a lot of young forms for the first time, like Baby Teach, younger pre-time skip Kobe level dragon, and the rat that is Baby Morgans. We also got one of the best names that I've ever come up with, being Garling from the Shy, because why did he slime his baby mom like that? But of course, the big reveal of this chapter was that Rox' real name was actually Davy D. Zebek, and God Valley is his hometown. Now, number 8, give me chapter 1150, Domi Reversi. This is when I realized that One Piece, we're entering a different saga now, because the final villain has actually shown up on Elbaf, albeit just a little portion of himself, and shown off his demonstrable power. I mean, just shooting off Broggy's hands, summoning the Grimoire, and of course, Domi Reversi itself, the demonification of seemingly whoever he wants. It also spawned the Emu game theory that I made over the summer, which you can watch here, after this video, of course. Number 7, I have chapter 1162, the God Valley Battle Royale. And here we just see fighting on all fronts. I love it. We had Garling Stocks being dubiously down when he got off-screen by the same character twice. The beautiful moment between Rox and Aris when Aris was actually like, hey, you know, if I wasn't a rough and tumble kind of woman, you wouldn't have fallen for me. This is when Emu arrives by possessing Saturn, and you have the initial standoff of Emu against Rox, Whitebeard, and Kaido. But low-key, my favorite part of this chapter gotta be when Kaido absolutely snuck Big Mom for the dragon fruit. Because I'm not gonna lie, why he snatch it out the air and eat it like that? That's toxic. Number 6, I'm giving it to chapter 1155, the Rocks Pirates. And it's exactly what it sounds like. We have the absolute greatest resume for a character we've ever seen. Infiltrating Mary Joa, killing a Marine Admiral, destroying the gates of justice, and even penetrating all the way to the flower room where Emu themselves feels like they can't do anything to them. I'm sorry, Rox was too tough. Of course, with that, you also get the beginnings of Rox and Harold's story, which ended up being the literal crux of this entire flashback. And then of course, on Elbaf itself, also seeing all of the Rocks pirates at that time. I mean, we got Stussy there, we had a young Whitebeard, we had a young Shiki actually being present and having speaking lines in the manga. But then on top of that, being introduced to Gansui, Don Marlin, and Tekken 101's favorite character, Wang Ji. Now kicking off the top 5, I got chapter 1161, a love ballad in a hail of arrows. Try saying that 5 times fast. This is the chapter that really spurred on the Shiki as Emperor debate, when we got this amazing spread of who I personally want to say are definitely the 4 emperors before Shanks took Shiki's place. This is also the chapter that we realized something very integral. Garp is a demon. He had Big Mom literally throwing F-bombs and everything when he tanked her attack and said, yo, this isn't even hot enough to cook my steak. Get to bacon. Of course, Sommer's showing off how absolutely vile and toxic he is, and as a villain, I actually really like Sommers. I think that he serves his role perfectly. But of course, you just have the Rayleigh save coming through, saving his girl, being like, yo, I'm finally here for you. And in doing so, using his first name technique, by the way. Big up Rayleigh for real, I respect him. He went to get his shotty, he don't play. Rayleigh is the man that we all need to be. Now in 4th place, I'm giving it to chapter 1167. Ida's son. This was the chapter before Ida's death, but y'all, a lot actually happened in here. Like genuinely, a lot of dots were connecting. For one, this is when we saw Shanks actually operate as a God's Knight. Or I guess technically God Steel because he wasn't on the same level, but you know what we're trying to say. He was there, putting on a front and everything like that, and yet he ended up helping out Fisher Tiger in his escape. And of course we saw Harold there as well, just continuing to be a government dog. But even beyond that, y'all, we had another thing get confirmed that nobody thought was gonna happen, and that's Shirahoshi being Mosa. With Oda confirming that, what that means is that when Mosa was saying that, yeah, the place where I'm at right now is being attacked, that means Fishman Island, something's going on down there. Did we just get subtle confirmation that Blackbeard is currently attacking? Which would make sense because Caribou told him about Poseidon. Nah, Oda, I'm not gonna lie, round of applause. And of course, this is where we see as well that Loki does in fact care about Ida. After hearing about the absolutely atrocious behavior performed by these ragamuffins, he burned their entire village to the ground. Talking about, you think you gonna do that to my mama and get away with it? Oh, you must be crazy. Now y'all, we come to number 3, and this is where I think people are gonna be pretty shocked. But here is where I have chapter 1138, the Harley. We all remember the Harley, of course we do. It was the chapter where we saw Shamrock's sword become a Cerberus. Oh, you weren't talking about that? Oh, I know what you were thinking of. It's the chapter right before Scopper Gaban was revealed when we were getting teased of, oh, hold on, is that Scopper? But no, of course, we all know this was the chapter of the year in most people's eyes. Myth piece. Seeing the huge mural telling the stories of the 3 different worlds, Oda literally gave us the codex of the entire One Piece story, and everyone and they mama was making breakdowns and theories about what each part meant. Of course, me included, which you can watch here after this video, of course. And I think that this is the most shocking for people because obviously everybody wants to say that this would be their number 1. But for me personally, as much as I do love it because I am interested in the lore of One Piece, for me, what really gets me is the hype. And because of that, there are 2 chapters that I think are slightly better than it. Though of course, if you want to rearrange this top 3, I wouldn't be mad. At number 2, I got chapter 1163. Promises. This is where things got absolutely wild because we had the legendary 6v1 pitting Garp, Rocks, Roger, Whitebeard, Kaido, and Big Mom all using a combined attack against Emu, and it does nothing. Mind you, 5 out of the 6 of those people could be argued to be the strongest person in the world. I guess like relative to each other, basically. And sorry, Kaido, you unfortunately weren't in those discussions yet. Of course, this did spur on a bit of the Emu controversy though. Of course, everybody talking about, well, if all of these guys were able to do this, they did nothing, and on top of that, Hidomi reversing Rocks. How are we supposed to beat him? But you know what? Still a good question. But low-key, my favorite part of this chapter is the Will of Bum. Because we see that Gonzui has the bomb fruit, and okay, that's cool. But then we see that Captain John has Kid's magnet fruit and gets one-shotted. And I'm not gonna lie, that's so embarrassing because how can everybody who has this fruit just be so horrible? Captain John, one shot. Captain Kid, one shot. All of y'all are useless. But for me personally, my chapter of the year gotta be chapter 1165, Echo. And of course, this is the chapter dedicated to Roger and Garp versus Rocks. And listen before you type angrily. I know about all the complaints. To me, for it being a flashback fight, I think that it was pretty decent. I actually think that it was more than what we were gonna get. Now the answer being Advanced Conqueror's Haki, and we'll just put more Haki into it. Let's see how he figures that one out. But of course we get this amazing fight choreo between Roger, Garp, and Rocks, which I can't wait for the anime to do. So you have the fight side being sustained while at the same time the emotional side is sustained because Rocks doesn't actually want this, but because the 2 of them have the voice of all things, they can hear his true self. So now you have Rocks actually being a tragic hero almost kind of figure. Plus we see all of the other pirate crews starting to form off, go and do their own thing after they realize that Rocks is done for. And I'm not gonna lie, my personal favorite part is see Marco's dad, Polo, because Oda, you didn't even try with these names. But that's gonna be my list for the top 10 chapters of 2025. Now I wanna ask you, what does your list look like? What was your favorite chapter of the year? Do you agree with any of my picks? Or is there something that I left off of my list that you definitely think should be on there? Make sure to let me know all that and more in the comments below. That is of course the end of the video, y'all, but before we go, like it, subscribe, and share it around to all your friends who love this series. That's gonna be all for me. I'll catch you on the next one, and always remember, One Piece, One Life. Feels so good to be back.